Hey, everybody, it's Allie, and welcome to our Y&R chat for Sunday, November 3rd, 2013. It is week 3 of the death and depression and darkness and prison sentences and funerals and when is it gonna end? I am telling you guys, Y&R had better take us to freaking Disneyland after putting us through this hell. Do you remember when we used to have Billy's annual Halloween party? Someone reminded me of that on Twitter, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Billy's Halloween party, totally not happening this year, of course. We used to have the fall harvest carnival thing. Like, there were happy things that we got to do in the fall that are completely absent right now. It's like this veil, this curtain of darkness is shrouding Genoa City, and it's shrouding my life. I need it to stop, Y&R. I'm hoping that even though the repercussions of Delia's death are going to be felt for weeks and weeks and months and years and who knows how long, I'm hoping that it starts to calm down a little bit. Maybe we can shift some focus somewhere else. I challenge you to name one happy storyline that's going on in the show right now. I cannot think of one single happy thing. Even I'm looking at the storylines that are going to be coming up into the next week, and what possibly is going to bring a smile to my face? I don't know. The one thing that I was happy about this week was Ashley being back on the scene. I don't know how you guys feel about her, but I just loved her. I was devastated when she left the show, and I was thrilled to see her beautiful, gorgeous face back on my screen. She is as beautiful as ever, more. I don't even know how that's possible, but she is gorgeous. She just adds this really, I don't know, angelic element to the Abbott family. She's needed. She is Jack's counterpart, and she anchors him down, and she anchors the family down and keeps Jack in check. And I loved seeing all of the Abbott family togetherness this week. They're all trying to be there to support Billy, and there was this scene right at the beginning of the week where the Abbotts are just sort of chit-chatting. They're kind of trying to have lighthearted talk. Billy's in the room feeling isolated, of course, but Tracy's kind of chit-chatting with Ashley and Summer, and it felt so very real. You know, like if you've ever been to a funeral or a visitation wake, something like that, and people are just sort of having idle conversation about the weather or whatever's going on in their families, and it's almost ignoring the larger thing that's going on in the room, the heavy thing that's going on in the room. And it felt like that. I mean, Billy can feel nothing but the weight of his daughter's death, and here the Abbotts are just sort of getting to know each other and chit-chatting, and he can't take it. Billy cannot take all of this togetherness. I mean, there is this amazing Abbott family breakfast. I think Ashley brought some food, and they all just decided, why wait for morning? Let's go sit down at the dining room table. It was thrilling to see all of the Abbotts gathered around that big table in the dining room, that it's been so long since they've done that. Do you remember back in the day, John at the head, and all the kids would come in and have their orange juice, and maybe Mamie would come in and bring their breakfast? It was just so classic to see the whole family there once again. I loved it so much. And Billy the entire time is just cringing. It's not enough just to pretend that it's not all happening. He can't seem to get out from under his pain. So he leaves. He says, you know what, sorry, I'm out of here. Ashley ends up following him, and he doesn't know it, but they wind up on a park bench. Billy's just sitting there in the dark, thinking to himself. Ashley comes up, and she tries to console him. She tries to give him advice. She doesn't want to lose her brother. She doesn't want to lose Billy. She knows what the darkness is from her own experience, and she doesn't want him to go there and to never come back. Billy ends up revealing that the funeral is tomorrow, so he also has this added element, knowing that he's going to have to somehow muster up the strength to go bury his daughter, and he doesn't want to. He reveals to Ashley he doesn't even want to go. He doesn't feel like he can, and Ashley's trying so hard to prop him up, telling him, you have to go, and if you can't do it for yourself, you have to go for Delia. It was such a nice back and forth between brother and sister. Eileen Davidson is just amazing. I love her so much. It felt like a little bit like a conversation that Tracey really should have been having with Billy, although I love Eileen Davidson. Bring her back forever, please. It was way too short of a visit, in my opinion. I did feel like we're kind of missing that connection between Billy and Tracey. I want to see a good solid one-on-one scene between them, because Tracey knows what it's like to lose an adult child. Ashley's lost a couple of children in infancy, I believe, and I think that it's a little different when when the child is older. So I think, I mean, obviously they're both devastating, of course, but I think Tracey might be able to provide a little bit more insight to Billy, and I feel like that's the conversation that's sort of missing right now, but maybe we'll get it next week. Who knows? Tracey's wisdom is just, it's uncontainable, so imagine she'll have some words at the funeral. So the Abbotts are all still back at the mansion, and they're talking about Billy and talking about what happened, and Summer's there. She's getting acclimated to her new family, which is making me a little bit ill, to be entirely honest with you. We know, as the audience, that Summer is not an Abbott. So she's getting all cozy with these people that aren't really her family, and it's just gonna make it worse when she finds out that she is actually a Newman. If she was an Abbott, that whole interaction would be great, but she's not, so how long is this lie gonna go on, is my question to you, YNR. Well, Summer comes up with this idea that, you know, we're feeling helpless about Delia's death. There's nothing we can do to change it, but why don't we go and put up a memorial in her name at the crash site? So the next scene we see is another heart-wrenching scene of the crash site, and the Abbotts have put down all of these candles and pictures and stuffed animals and balloons, and they've made this little memorial for her, and they're just kind of standing around in remembrance. That was so hard to watch. It's all very hard to watch. I mean, I like that it has brought the Abbott family back together. I think there are some wonderful moments of togetherness that have come out of this tragedy. Later, Jack goes back to the house and John shows up. He's alone and he has this interaction with Ghost John, which I was wondering when that was going to happen. I mean, the whole time the Abbotts are sitting around the breakfast table, I'm thinking, why is John not off in the corner observing this? Because his presence was felt in the room even if he wasn't there. I mean, they were going on about how the kids tortured their dad as kids and what they put him through, and I just felt like John would be looking over on that scene approvingly. But later in this alone moment, Jack sees his father, and John tells Jack that he's proud of him, that he's finally becoming the true patriarch of the Abbott family. It's almost like Jack had taken John's place in that way, and it felt good to have the family bonded together around them. And Jack, as usual, is questioning himself now. It felt good in the moment, but then in the days and weeks that follow, the house becomes kind of empty again. Jack had this goodbye moment with Ashley where he tells her, you know, this isn't really how I pictured our lives. You know, I want us to be closer and not just seeing each other on holidays and at funerals. And Ashley says that she wants that too and that she is gonna come back. And we already know Eileen Davidson is filming a couple more scenes, so even if it's recurring, I'm glad that she's back in Jack's life because Jack is going to need it. Jack is a recovering addict. He is missing his partner. He's missing Phyllis. Later in the week, he ended up having a quiet little breakfast or dinner or something with Summer. Summer comes over and offers to make him a sandwich, and they're bonding as well. He's becoming close with his quote-unquote daughter, and he calls Phyllis, tells the nurse to put him on speakerphone, and he tells her, you know, get this, I'm having a strawberry jam sandwich with our daughter, Jack still feels so connected to Phyllis, even though she's so far away physically and mentally, and he needs her. He was reaching out. He feels like Phyllis was his partner. She was the one that was anchoring him to his immediate family, and she's not there. So Jack is worried that he is not going to be able to hold it together in the midst of all of this. Everybody is worried about Billy, and I felt like Ashley said it best before she left. She just had come back, and I think she was talking to Jack, and she after that one-on-one convo that she had with Billy, and she just says, Billy seems like he's lost, and he doesn't want to be found. It's funeral day. Chloe is standing in the Chancellor living room, clutching onto Pinkerton, Delia's favorite childhood toy. Wyatt, you might as well take a steak knife and plunge it into my chest and just cut out a heart-shaped hole and then reach in and pull out my heart and just devour it, because that's how I feel. I think it was, Esther, I want to say Esther came downstairs and saw Chloe clutching this cherished toy of Delia's, and Chloe reveals she's giving Pinkerton to Delia today because Delia can't sleep without him. She's gonna put the toy in the coffin. We didn't see that moment. I don't want to skip forward to. I like doing things chronologically or talking about the show chronologically, but we didn't actually see Chloe laying down the toy into her daughter's coffin, but I see it in my mind, and it is horrific. It is, there's no words for how awful it is. Just gah! Now, separately, Billy is with Victoria at the house, this is the morning of his daughter's funeral. Reed has come in for the day to attend his stepsister's funeral. Question, was that the same kid that played Reed before? They looked really similar, but I thought that kid the original actor was sick or something, or he had some kind of physical ailment. Maybe he's better now. I don't know. Was it the same kid or was it a look-alike? You guys tell me. I'm not sure. But Reed is there. Victoria's there. Victoria's trying to hold her family still together. Billy is not with it. He's not ready. I mean, here Victoria is dressed for the funeral. Reed's dressed for the funeral. Billy is still walking around in his t-shirt. And you can tell there's a sense of hesitation and procrastination. Billy does not want to go today. And that's, if you guys have ever been to a funeral, I know that feeling. You just don't want to go. It's like the last thing you got to do, and you just don't want to. There's nothing good about it. It's a horrible, dreadful day, and Reed, even as a small child, can sense that Billy is afraid, and he just comes over to Billy and hugs him, and Reed just says, you know, it's okay if you're afraid to go to Delia's funeral. I mean, even this small kid knows what the score is, can sense it in Billy, that this is where he is at emotionally. Chloe being very strong. Billy seems to be breaking down in a slower process. Chloe broke down immediately, and she seems to be getting progressively stronger, or she's trying to pull it together for her daughter's sake. She arrives at the funeral home or wherever they're having the service. I guess maybe it was a church. And she's there to greet all of the guests. The Abbott family arrives, and here is where Tracy gets to spread her wisdom. I loved the moment where Chloe sort of corners Tracy a little bit and zeroes in on her and really wants to tap her brain as to how she can overcome this. How can I go on? And Chloe says to Tracy, I need you to tell me, when is the pain going to stop? And Tracy's just so sweet and so motherly, and she knows she can't rightfully tell Chloe that the pain is going to stop. There's just no right answer. There's no right words that are going to change anything. It was just a nice little moment, though, of connecting in the pain, and I would love to see some more of that, some more scenes between those two. It was good to see all of the Abbotts bonded there together. Get this! Victor arrives, gets there, sees Jack, and shakes his hand. There was this incredible handshake where Victor reaches out, Jack reaches out, and I thought, they both must have just been dying a little in that moment. That had to kill both of them to come together and actually shake hands and be together in their remorse in that moment. Or maybe, you know, the thought also occurred to me that maybe Victor and Jack's rivalry is merely a game. Maybe it's a pastime. You know, and they're, you know, maybe they actually really do love and care about each other. Maybe that's wishful thinking. But I'd like to believe at the end of the day, they would help each other if there was a dire situation. Jack was, you know, eventually came to the conclusion that Victor could have Colleen's heart, and I'm sure that even though I can't think of it, there were some moments that Victor was tender toward Jack in other instances, but I thought that was kind of a cool moment at the funeral. Kane was there, which I thought was very appropriate. I was a little annoyed that Y&R seemed to be forgetting the fact that Kane thought Delia was his child at the beginning, so it made sense that he would be there, that he would have some mourning to do. Now, everyone else goes inside to the chapel, and Chloe's still left outside. She tells, I think, Kevin to tell the minister to hold off a couple more minutes because Billy's not there. And if I were her, I would be really ticked off. I had an instance where a family member, when my uncle died, and his son was late to the freaking visitation, and I was so irritated by that. Like, you can't show up on time to your family's funeral, and it got up under my skin. So I kind of had a visceral reaction to Billy's lateness. He showed up eventually. Thankfully, he didn't just decide not to go. I was worried that he was going to decide just not to go. And I was glad that Chloe gave up hating on Billy, at least for a day. They came together outside and just hugged, and they are going to have to find a way to get through this together. They both remember Delia. They're going to have to somehow bond over that and help each other in some way to get over this, or to move on, or to learn how to move forward, I guess is a good way to put it. Now, Chloe, we didn't really see the inside of the chapel. We really just saw Chloe reading this poem that Delia had written for Catherine's funeral just a couple months earlier, and it was sort of Chloe's voice dubbed over everyone leaving the chapel, and the theme of the poem was being free, and it was like such a sweet poem. It was so deep for a little child to have written, but you definitely got the sense that it was, I don't know, a little child grasping a larger topic, and it was all very sad, but I didn't cry. I did not cry throughout any of that day's show. Until Chloe and Kevin go back to the Chancellor mansion, throw open the doors to the living room, and everyone is standing there dressed up in feather boas and crazy hats and with teacups, and it's a tea party for Delia. The after thing of her funeral was a tea party. I lost it. I lost my freaking skull. It was the most macabre thing that I have ever seen on YNR ever. I mean, a child has died. It's an unfathomable amount of misery, and everyone that was close to Delia is standing there in a playful, somber way. I could not believe it. It was, oh man. Standing there in feather boas and silly hats with a somber heart. That moment was incredible. Of course, everyone was dressed up in tea party wear, except for Victor. As soon as I saw everybody there looking silly, I was immediately screening for Victor. Oh my gosh, does Victor have on a silly hat? No, he was not even, I don't think, in that initial shot of everyone there, because I didn't see him anyway. I was looking. Then after they did the grand reveal that it was a tea party, people went off and had separate conversations, and Victor was talking to somebody, I don't know, Kane or somebody, and I thought, well, he wasn't wearing anything. He couldn't put on a damn boa in Delia's honor. You couldn't suck it up. That would have made my day. It's what Delia would have wanted. Victor did actually manage to muster a compliment, though. He walks up to Billy and says, you know, you've been through something now that no parent should ever have to go through, and I want you to know that your father would have been proud of you. It must have taken everything he had in him, because you know Victor has already said he blames Billy for this, so I can't imagine it was easy for him to extend an olive branch to Billy. It's so weird. I mean, Victor Newman and John Abbott were two totally different men. I don't even think Victor has any right to speak on John Abbott's behalf at all. I mean, it was a nice sentiment, but John Abbott was pretty much a saint. I mean, for the most part, he didn't really do anything too terribly wrong. He was one of the moral characters on the show, whereas Victor is very amoral. But it was a touching moment. Definitely, Victor was putting aside his rivalries for the day. I mean, that whole scene was just incredible. Chloe seemed to appreciate the tea party and understand where it was coming from. Billy couldn't do it. He could not do it. He ended up leaving, and he goes home and he's sitting alone in the dark again. He really, really is not wanting to see the light. He's not wanting to connect with anyone. He really would prefer just to be alone. He's there, I'm assuming this is the night of the funeral. He's sitting there, and all of a sudden he hears a scratching at the door. He goes to open it, and the dog is just sitting right there. I mean, honestly, like, okay, YNR. I appreciate bringing that full circle. They could have just let the dog run off into the darkness and we never would have seen it again. I appreciate you bringing it back, but to be 100% honest with you, Billy, when he flung open the door and the dog was sitting there, I had to laugh. It was just, I don't know if it was a defense mechanism or something. Maybe I had to laugh to keep from crying, but it is sort of bordering now on we're trying to get you, like Wyatt was trying to get you to cry. We want to suck every last little bit of emotion that you have out of you. And I just had to laugh. It was a little bit much. Well, Chelsea and Adam were so worried about Connor that they didn't end up going to the funeral, but Chloe comes to see Chelsea afterwards, and Chloe is standing there looking at Connor. She was just looking at the baby in such a happy/sad way. She knows that Connor, having received Delia's corneas, is the one little tiny pin light of goodness that's come out of this tragedy. And Chloe actually said, you know, whenever I see Connor now, I'll always see Delia. Just so, that's so hard. And Chloe wasn't touching Connor. She was kind of admiring him while he was in Adam's arms. And there was this moment where Adam realizes that Chloe is in pure pain and that she's given him this incredible gift. And Adam just slowly hands Chloe over the baby. And just in a it was such an incredible moment because he handed her the baby and you could feel in Adam's body language that he was so guilty, like, here's my baby, hold him for a while because I took yours from you. During the funeral, Adam ended up sneaking away and kind of hanging out outside of the chapel, listening to the service for Delia, for the girl that he believes he murdered and left in cold blood, accidentally, of course. After the service sort of ends, Adam ends up traveling out to the crash site, and he just like sits there, kneels down on the ground amongst all of the balloons and the pictures and the stuffed animals and the notes from family and friends, probably Delia's little schoolmates. He's just sitting there amongst this sea of memorabilia, knowing that he caused this, or believing that he caused this pain to all of these people, and just sitting and stewing in a well of guilt. This hot cop strolls by. I was like, ooh, that guy's good looking. Just happens to be hanging out by this highway. I don't even know what the cop was doing there, but he comes by and sees Adam and starts trying to connect with him, making Adam's misery even worse, of course, saying like, you know, these things are just tragic. You know, do you have kids? And Adam's like, yeah, I'm a parent, you know, and the cop tells Adam, well, you know, you just gotta go home and hug your kid, seeing that something like this happened. I mean, I don't know, did they have the cop there to, like, monitor? I don't know. It was weird that the cop was even there. It was, again, just like Y&R jabbing that steak knife into your chest. Adam has just a brief moment alone after Hot Cop leaves, and he just lays a single white rose on the ground and leaves. He didn't do it. He did not do this. I don't know how Weiner is going to explain this away. But I just don't think. I think, who was it? Anna called and left me a voice message this week with a theory that essentially someone hit Delia before Adam even got there, and that somehow the scarf just kind of got tangled up in his tires. And I think that's a very good possibility. It's a very good possibility that Delia was already hit by the time that Adam even got there, and maybe it'll have been Nikki. Who knows? Maybe it'll be someone we don't even know about. Maybe it'll be this mystery Zach person that Courtney's associated with. Who knows? I ultimately don't think that Adam did this. But how much do you want to bet that Chelsea's going to be the one who ultimately pieces together that Adam thinks he did this? I think she is going to be stuck in that position. I think this is all leading toward Chelsea being the one to figure it out and realizing that her husband did this horrible thing to her best friend who's been so wonderful and kind to her. I just don't know. Victor is taking a particular interest in this case. Victor wants answers, and he ends up hiring a private investigator to get information about who killed Delia. Like, the police don't have their own resources. I mean, Victor went to Paul early in the week and demanded answers, and Paul was like, well, when we have answers, we're going to give them to the family, not to you. I was proud of Paul, by the way, for not cowering to Victor in that scene. But Victor, he just decides he's going to do his own side investigation. I'm not sure why entirely Victor has this much of an interest in this. Maybe because of Catherine, maybe just because he liked Delia. I just don't know. But Victor is possibly also could be someone who finds out the truth or senses it, or his PI sniffs it out, I don't know, and finds out that it was Adam. But Victor definitely is hanging around the scene enough to where he could possibly be the one. Now, we had a joyous revelation this week that Connor's transplant, his cornea transplant, was a total success. Crisis totally averted. He's gonna be 100% fine. They prescribed him some eye drops. Bing, bang, boom, done. Kid sees again. So there's that. Adam and Chelsea are understandably overjoyed about this. Chloe ends up coming over and they share the news with her that yes, Connor is going to be seeing the world through Delia's eyes. And Connor's sight is all that Chloe really has right now. It's the one remaining connection that she has to her daughter, and she seems to be wanting to cling to it, and Chelsea wants to help her with that. There's this beautiful moment between Chelsea and Chloe where they're just, it's sad, but also happy, and it's just this crazy, it's like somebody took all of these emotions and blended them up, and that's what it is. It's both sad and joyous for them both. Now, Chelsea has decided that since Connor's doing fine, she tells Adam she wants out. She wants to leave. She proposes a shared custody arrangement and tells him, I want to leave. There's no reason why I should have to continue living here with you. You should know now that you should trust me. Let's just be parents to Connor separately. There's no reason to keep me here under feeling like lock and key, which is fine with me, Chelsea. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Go ahead, go. I hope he lets her go. I hope he doesn't end up contesting that. But Chelsea should really have been thanking her lucky stars that Adam decided not to go through with requesting or suing for full custody. I'm surprised that she questioned him was trying to get out of the arrangement so quickly, but then again, I'm sure she hopes she could go out and pick up her relationship with Dylan right where it left off, but we all know that isn't going to happen. So I don't know. Adam, they got interrupted, so Adam wasn't able to give his response to her request, and then Chelsea left. Now, at the very end of Friday's show, Adam is having this nightmare. He's lying on the couch, and he dreams that Delia is sitting there right in his living room, looking all sweet, handing him a little cup of tea. He wakes up and he just can't take it anymore. That seemed to be Adam's final straw. He cannot continue to live with this guilt. He's got to do something. So we saw for the previews of Monday's show that Adam is going to make a confession video. We see the scene of him recording, holding Connor in his arms and saying, I'm confessing to the hit and run murder of Delia Abbott. I mean, well, why? Like, what are you going to do? Mail it to the police? What's he planning to do with that? If you wanted to confess, you would just go to the police. What's with the video? No, I mean, is he just trying to get it off his chest or what? I mean, the only thing that, the purpose only that would serve is not for him to end up getting arrested. It's for freaking Chelsea or Victor to find that video. Yes, this was a very dark Halloween for Billy. No annual party, no fun whatsoever. This was a really hard Halloween for Billy and for Victoria. I mean, he just lost his daughter like yesterday, and now all of these kids are coming to the door and ding dong wanting their candy and looking all cute in their costumes, and like every kid that comes to the door is like a stab in Billy's and Victoria's heart. There's this one little girl that comes to the door as a witch, of course. You know, it's Y&R. It's sort of like the dog or the tea party, and the witch comes to the door. They're trying to just squeeze it out of you. You thought you were going to be okay? Well, no, here's a witch. Remember when Delia got ran over and she was in that witch costume? Like, I get it, okay? Y&R, I get it. There's no need to continue to drive it home. But Billy is so overwhelmed seeing this little girl about Delia's age in this wicked witch costume. He just takes the bowl of candy and just dumps the whole thing into her bag. Ah! Just gives her the whole bowl of candy, and she's like, yay, thanks, mister, and runs off, and Billy's just devastated. I don't know. I don't know what this means for Billy. I don't know what it means for Billy and Victoria. I had gotten a voicemail from Patricia this week, and just one little tiny thing she had mentioned is that she feels like Billy and Victoria are ultimately going to be okay. I wonder though. I'm curious to know if this is going to be what breaks up Victoria and Billy permanently. Victoria had gone to see Dylan early in the week, I think before the funeral, and she was asking Dylan to try to talk to Billy. You know, you're a neutral person, you're kind of friends. Can you talk to him and see if there's, you know, any way that you can help pull him out of this? And Dylan, of course, he's Mr. Wise, is talking to Victoria and asking her more like, how do you feel? It just felt like she was going to Dylan for Billy, but Dylan seemed to be there more for Victoria. And in my head, I'm like, is that Y&R maybe laying some groundwork for a Dylan and Victoria relationship? I'm just not sure. Gary had also called into my voicemail this week and had zeroed in on a moment that I wasn't even going to mention and didn't really didn't register with me, but there was this scene where Billy is sitting on the floor, I think, or sitting in the living room and in the dark and being very brooding, and Victoria walks up behind him and turns on the light. And Billy kind of lashed out at her in a controlled way, but he was like, please turn the light off, please. I mean, he practically like hissed, like, you know, as soon as the light came on. He didn't want to have anything to do with it, but Gary was making the connection that it was very symbolic. Victoria seems to be trying to turn on the light in Billy's world, and he doesn't want it. He wants that light off, and he wants to stay closed off. He is committed to his anger at this point. It seems like it's really shifted into anger. After that scene, we saw Billy going to his computer in the middle of the night and typing into a search engine, what is the punishment for a hit and run? So now he wants vengeance. No matter what this sentence is, this is what's on his mind, but no matter what the punishment is for the hit and run person, it's not going to be enough. It's never going to be enough. So Patricia again had mentioned in her voice message that Y&R is casting a woman. I think Gary had mentioned this too. That Y&R is casting a good-looking lady to come in that Billy is supposed to meet in his support group. So, I guess he's gonna go to some kind of support group for parents who've lost their children. Didn't I say last week that Y&R needs one of those? And I guess they're gonna meet, and I don't know. Maybe he's gonna find himself connecting with another woman, and you know, Victoria is very jealous, and she's very insecure a lot of times where her relationship with Billy is, especially because he cheats and stuff. But she could possibly push him, or he could find himself drawn into another woman's arms. Either way, I don't know. I wonder if this could be the death nail for Billy and Victoria. Dylan is filing for divorce from Chelsea. It's about time. I was kind of thinking that should have happened a couple weeks ago. It's over. I'm kind of glad it's over. I don't think Chelsea has any idea it's gonna be over. I think she's sort of looking forward to maybe getting on with her life and moving on with Dylan. I think she still is holding out hope that she can go back and pretend like none of this ever happened. Maybe she's taken a signal from the fact that Dylan hadn't filed papers yet. I don't know. But Dylan is gonna have way bigger things on his mind once he finds out his whole world is a lie, that who he thinks he is not who he is. At the beginning of the week, Avery storms out to the ranch and confronts Nikki. I think rightly. I 100% feel like Nikki roped Avery into this lie, into this secret, I guess I should say, because she wants to build a level of support for when she does end up telling Dylan the truth. I think Nikki is looking for allies. She could have gone to any lawyer. She did not have to go to Avery. That was strategy 100% on Nikki's part, and Avery realizes it. She said, "You tricked me into keeping the secret for you, and now I have to live with it." Avery's close with Dylan. She was, I think, considering a future relationship with Dylan, and now she has to keep this lie. I mean, for one thing, it's client confidentiality. She can't just go blurting out Nikki's business, and I think Nikki knew that. You know, Avery told Nikki, "I think you just should tell him." I mean, it's obvious that Nikki, through talking to Avery, has sort of brought Avery into her world a little bit, made her understand why she would have given the child away. Nikki pleaded with Avery just to tell her any little thing about Dylan. What is he like? What books does he like? Who is he? I want to have some level of insight. And Avery did give her a little bit of information about who Dylan is, but this is something that Nikki is just going to have to learn on her own. The Nikki-Dylan mother-son relationship is not that interesting to me. I'm not even like remotely worried about what Dylan's reaction will be. I mean, yes, I think that he is going to be rocked, but I think the aftermath of it is going to be far more interesting. How is Dylan going to play with his brother now that he is going to learn that he and Nick are brothers and they had been fighting over the same woman? Nick feels very negatively toward Dylan at this point. The guy has been nothing but trouble for Nick, and now he's gonna have to be nice with him. I think that's where the real interesting part is going to be. And frankly, Victor's reaction is what interests me. I mean, Nikki and Avery are standing in the ranch living room, and Nikki's got her will in her hand, and Victor just comes in. "Oh, your will." Why isn't Victor putting together that something is going on with his wife? Why is he not asking questions? He doesn't think it's weird that she's got her will out? I seem to remember that Nikki and Victor got back together on the condition that there would be no more lies, and I think it was Nikki's condition. And now look at her. She's keeping this huge lie from Victor. I'm ready for it to come out. I mean, frankly, I'm less worried about what Dylan's reaction will be and more worried about what Victor's reaction will be. Hilary's back. She's back. And she seems to be reformed. Toward the beginning of the week, Neil and Leslie are having a conversation with one another, and Leslie's really feeling bad about everything that's befallen the Winters family, and she knows that her father had a connection to Hilary's mother, so Leslie feels connected to Hilary in a way, and she knows that she has this stack of letters that were very precious to Gus, and she decides she wants to go over and see Hilary and give her these letters. She wants Hilary to be able to have a chance to read her mother's own words, and maybe that will provide a perspective for her. I don't know why Leslie didn't do that before, and I still feel confused about the nature of Rose and Gus's relationship. Is there going to be more of a twist to the story? I mean, it was sort of implied that there was no sexual relationship between them, but I can't help but wonder if there's still more to it. I don't know. But Leslie says, she goes to Hilary's hotel room and says, I know what it's like to lose a parent, and reading these letters helped me, so maybe they'll help you. Leslie leaves, and Hilary has a moment. We see her looking at the letters and crying and looking at her mother's picture and crying, and then out of the blue, she calls up Neil for a truce. I mean, they both apologized to one another. It was very sweet and tender. They both pledge forgiveness for one another, but I am wondering if we can trust this. I think this is the question of the week. Has Hilary really changed? I'm going to put a poll up at yrchat.com, and you guys can let me know. Do you think Hilary has really changed? Is she reformed, or is she the same old conniving person that we have seen in the past? I mean, we've seen Hilary's cry face before. The time she brought Neil over to her hotel room and ended up spiking his drink, she was pulling out the waterworks. She was saying how sorry she was and how bad she felt, and now here she is, same tears, and I just don't know if we can trust it. Are we buying Hilary's turnaround? That's what I want to know from you guys this week. I believe that she loved her mother. I believe that she has genuine pain for that, but just because she's crying over her mother doesn't necessarily mean that she feels remorse over what she's done to Neil. That's kind of my perspective, but I can also see on the flip side of that coin, maybe this is Y&R's beginning of Hilary. I should have called her that weeks ago. Why didn't I call her Hilary? That would have been perfect. The hell she's been wreaking on the Winters family. Well, I wonder, and I think it's a valid argument, is could this be the beginning of Y&R's reformation of Hilary? Maybe they're trying to now bring her out of the villain role and into the nice girl role. I don't know. Neil seems to have bought the whole thing, hook, line, and sinker. He even offers her a job. I think that's a little extreme. He's going to be bringing her into the mix with his family where she could be doing more damage. Why does he trust her this time? What reason has she really given him to trust her? Trust is something that you have to build up over time. She hasn't done that at all. I think Neil's opening up the Winters for more hurt. I just, in one way or the other, as I think he's asking for more punishment. Neil ends up going to Lily and Kane and telling them that he's offered Hilary this job, and Lily immediately is like, well then you can just take my resignation. And I don't blame her at all. I mean, even if Hilary's not still trying to get at Neil, we all know she seems to have the hots for Kane, and I can see why Lily wouldn't want to invite that pain into her life. Kane totally is not buying it either. He goes to confront Hilary in her hotel room. He has no reason to trust her. He says, I did everything for you. I gave you this great job. And the worst part about all of this was that I liked you. I actually thought that you were cool and you were helpful, and you ended up stabbing me in the back. And now I'm not buying your reformation. He tells Hilary he wants her to turn down the job and furthermore, just go ahead and leave town. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? How are we feeling about Hilary? Let's get to the bottom of this. I mean, there's some times where I think she's a pretty good villain. And then there's other times where I'm like, she's not that convincing. I'm just not feeling her. I don't know. If she leaves town, I don't know. I might be fine with that. Kind of interesting to see scenes between Devon and Victor this week, right? Don't you think? I mean, I was like, whoa. Victor and Devon have pretty much never had any scenes together. Now, Devon is this huge billionaire. He's a major player in this town now, so he can get onto Victor's schedule. He's got the money now to get onto Victor's schedule. But Victor is sort of taking an interest in Devon, and he's framing it as Catherine left you the wealth, and she left me the company. So what is that telling you? Maybe Catherine wanted me, Victor Newman, to mentor you and help you right along the right path. I mean, it's weird. I mean, Devon has 2 business mogul fathers for that. I don't think he needs Victor Newman to mentor him. He could get it from Neil, he could get it from Tucker. So I am sure that Victor has some sort of agenda for this. And as soon as Devon revealed to Neil that he met with Victor, Neil said the exact same thing. Victor Newman always has an agenda. No matter how tight you are with him, if you're not in the Newman family, you're out. And nobody would know that better than Neil. Neil knelt at the great man's feet for years. Did a better job with his company than anybody, than any of his children, was more steadfast and devoted to Newman Enterprises than anyone else in Victor's family, only to be brushed aside because his last name wasn't Newman. So Neil has every right to warn Devon, but I think Devon is intrigued. Devon's gone out, he's spent a little bit of his money, but he's wavering. He doesn't know what to do with his life now. This has changed his whole life. So he ends up going out to the ranch and meeting with Victor again, and Victor and Devon, they're just woeing, just like, oh, the woes of great wealth. Oh, you never know who's your friend. With great wealth comes enormous responsibility. Oh, yes. Oh, I wish I had that problem. Now let me have my sip of tea with my pinky up. I mean, give me a break. Give me $2 billion. I'll be just fine. It was kind of interesting to see the scenes between those two, so I was fine with it. The interesting little nugget, we'll call it a nugget here, is that Mason is lurking on the scene. Mason's trying real hard to kiss Devon's butt, like, oh, I'm sorry I was involved with Hilary. Haven't you ever made a mistake before? Oh, maybe I could be your personal assistant. Just all up on him. And then Devon gets up and goes to get a drink for a second. Mason grabs his wallet, keeps it, only to give it back to Devon later to make it seem like he did him a favor. Like, oh no, I don't want any reward. I don't want anything. Just here's your wallet. Just helping you out, buddy. Mason, Connor had left me a voicemail this week and said pretty much what I was thinking. Like, can we be done with Mason? He's doing nothing for me. He's been on the show for, I mean, it has not been like a year since he was introduced. He was introduced at the same time as Tyler, and I have no connection with Mason whatsoever. He's never done anything for me. He's maybe just now starting to become sneaky, but I don't feel connected to the actor. I feel like he's a model. I don't know if he's an actor. He's just not grabbing me. We all know that Hilary told Mason that his job is to get close to Devon. But Hilary and Mason had sex and then had another fight this week and vowed not to get back together. So I don't know if Mason is still continuing down this path of trying to get in close with Devon to help Hilary, hoping that will ingratiate him with her later down the road. I don't know if Mason now has his own motives for wanting to get in close with Devon and maybe hurt him or at least take some of his money or manipulate him somehow. I'm wondering, even if Hilary has reformed herself and she's now become a perfect little angel, I wonder if she has created a monster in Mason. everything with the Baldwin family started out so well and so interesting, and it's hard for me to keep up with it now. Y&R is so focused on the Delia stuff, and I feel so focused on everything having to do with Delia that the Baldwin family drama is getting lost on me a little bit. Y&R hasn't focused on it enough for me to really feel it. So I don't know, I'm watching it, but I don't feel particularly engaged with the Baldwins this week. Michael is in jail, beginning to serve his 10-year prison sentence. He has a meeting with Lauren, and he comes out to reveal he's got a big old black eye, his face is all beat up, he's got cracked ribs, he looks like he's just come out of the ringer. It was kind of funny. Like, really, truly, the Baldwins have been practically pulverized this year. Do you remember a couple months ago when Fenn was walking around with his black eye? Now it's Michael. Like, they've all been walking around bloodied and bruised and beat up for I don't know how long, the past several months. But now Michael is in jail. And he's a former district attorney. He has put many of those convicts into jail, and they don't take too well to a former DA getting in there now. So Michael is getting beat up. Basically, Michael's getting beat up regularly in prison, and he doesn't want to say anything about it. Lauren is begging him to do something, to tell. He doesn't want to request medical attention. He doesn't want to say who did this to him. He doesn't want to snitch. Lauren's begging him to, but he is not budging whatsoever. Paul and Christine are both very concerned about him. Chris was able to work a little bit of magic to get him put into a safer cell. I guess he'll be around the snitches and the more luxury accommodations that the prison has to offer. Michael's been moved. But now, Fenn is determined to punish himself, is what it boils down to. He's at the coffee house seeing this very sweet scene between Kane and his son on Halloween, and they're real close, and Fenn realizes that he misses his father and he needs something to help take the edge off, I suppose. He meets with Raven. And she comes all up in there with her black lipstick and her teased hair. I love that. I wish they would just reform Raven and bring her onto the show. That's somebody I could get into. I like a dark character that's not, too dark, killing children. On the scale of darkness, killing children is like way over here. Black lipstick is over here. I can handle black lipstick. But Fenn meets up with Raven. She gives him more drugs. He remarks that this new batch of drugs looks different from the last. So I don't know if she gave him a higher class, some real bad stuff. She gave him more, and I think she gave it to him in a way that, from some sort of new supplier, that when he gets thrown in jail for having them in the next scene, it appears that he is having them with intent to distribute. So Fenn, my interpretation, unless I'm incorrect, I believe Fenn sort of got caught on purpose. I don't think he even took the drugs. I think he got himself caught with the police on purpose and hauled into jail because he wants to punish himself. He feels like he killed Carmine even though he doesn't remember it. But if he can't go to jail for that, he can go to jail for this. So now he's getting ready to get hauled away to prison. His initial charges with the drugs were dependent on him having good behavior, but now that he's totally screwed that up and got arrested again, he's gonna have to serve his original sentence. So he's getting ready to get transferred away to prison for who knows long term. This is not local jail, this is actual prison. There's no way around it. Lauren is gonna have a freaking aneurysm. She's about to lose her mind. Both her son and her husband are in jail. She's feeling totally helpless, and she feels like it's just Carmine haunting them from beyond the grave, and she's correct. That's exactly what's happening. I just don't think Carmine's dead. At the end of the day, I think Y&R is going to attempt to take a page from the book of Ricky and actually not have Carmine have been dead. I don't know. I think he was faking it or something. I'm not sure. there was this moment where, well, first actually Kevin went to go visit Michael in jail and at the beginning of Friday's show, and I thought, well, finally, Michael and Kevin are so close, yet Kevin really hasn't been there for Michael. Michael hasn't been there, hasn't been able to be there for Kevin and Delia's death, and it made me wonder, where is Gloria? I mean, I know the actress does like Broadway or something. She's like, she has her own career going on, but I thought, gosh, this would have been a good time for Gloria to come charging up in there and, I don't know, make the situation worse, as she is often to do. But there is this moment where Michael's getting transferred back into his jail cell, and Fenn is now getting acquainted into his jail cell. He's got his new skull cap on, like Fenn has changed wardrobe, and he's now in jail, and his jail wear includes a cap. He's got this jail wear cap on. I had to laugh about that. But there's this moment where Michael and Fenn crossed paths in the hall. Michael had no idea that Fenn was in jail, and now here they are just like shouting out to each other, "Dad? Fenmore? Fenmore!" And the guards get all mad at him for trying to touch or talk or anything and get rough with them, and Michael's just yelling down the hall after Fenmore, "Fenmore!" It was so contrived. It's the witch's uniform. It's the dog. It's Michael and Fenn seeing each other in the hallway. Come on, YNR. You don't have to cram it down my throat. Where's the subtlety? It's... The one interesting thing that I actually really liked this week was that during that scene where Fenn is getting drugs from Raven, Courtney and Noah are off in the background smooching and getting close, and Fenn is like, "Hey, chill with the drugs." She like throws them to him out in the open, and he's like, "Chill out, you know, I don't want to get caught or whatever." And Raven reveals, "Oh, it's just Courtney, don't worry, she's one of my biggest clients." So, what's up with that? I like it. I do. I like it because I'm curious. There actually was this moment where Raven and Courtney are in the coffee house at the same time, and Courtney sort of makes a beeline to get out of there with Noah, and Raven's sort of left behind, giving this smug look. So, I don't know, is Courtney somehow involved in drug dealing, or is she doing drug using? And how does that text message that Courtney got last week, I guess it was, from mystery guy named Zach, how does that tie in? And is there any way that any of these people could have been driving a black SUV on the night of Delia's death? Sharon is in her living room with Noah this week, and she's trying to explain to Noah why she went off her meds in the first place. She tells him they made her feel fuzzy, and she just wanted to feel like herself again, so she decided to take matters into her own hands. Rather than talking to her doctor, she just decided to do whatever it was that she wanted. But she's trying very hard to convince both Noah and Nick that she's doing really well right now, that she's back on track. She has a new doctor, someone that she went out and picked. Now, I understand that you would want to have your own doctor. Dr. Watkins came to Sharon through Adam. She didn't get to pick who she was talking to. But at the same time, what was wrong with Dr. Watkins? I felt like Dr. Watkins was pretty cool. At the end of the day, that doctor called Sharon on her bull, and Sharon didn't like it. That's why she didn't like her. I mean, Dr. Watkins cared enough to call in to try to continue to make appointments with Sharon, to see, she called into the pharmacy to see if Sharon was actually filling her prescriptions. So I just don't think, let's not blame Dr. Watkins for Sharon's issue, okay? I don't know why I feel so defensive over Dr. Watkins, but I do. Bottom line, Sharon is trying to get back on track, and I can't complain about that. Noah is questioning Sharon's intentions about Nick when Nick walks in the room and sort of scolds Noah for even asking the question. And I think Noah's just asking the question that we're all asking. Is Sharon really feeling back on track, or is this just another way to get back together with Nick? I don't know. I think Sharon might be trying to pull a fast one still. I don't know. We'll have to see. But Clearly, Nick and Sharon still have a connection, maybe something that's going to develop naturally. They're talking about Noah and whether or not, well, actually, sorry, when all three of them are there, Noah ends up giving his notice to Nick and says he's going to resign from working at the underground. I feel like Nick and Sharon obviously are opposed to Noah going to work at Newman Enterprises, but they should want him to have a more challenging job. He's a big boy. He can deal with Victor. I'm sure he's going to get chewed up and spit back out, but hey, it's worth a shot and it'll be entertaining to watch, I think. Now, Sharon is seemingly trying to get back on track. As soon as everybody left, she had this scene with Cassie's ghost, and Cassie is trying to convince Sharon to do the bad things, to continue to try to get close with Nick. I don't know if once Sharon's new medication kicks in, is she gonna feel guilty and tell Nick? I don't know what it is, but it is a first step. Sharon talking to Cassie's ghost and saying, you know, I don't want to be bad anymore. You know, Cassie's trying to convince her to continue on the bad path, and Sharon's saying, no, I want to get healthy. I want to be right. It's the whole Cassie thing has turned really weird. It's weird how Cassie has turned into the bad part of Sharon. Why is Cassie giving Sharon the bad advice? Seems like Cassie should be the angel on Sharon's shoulder rather than the devil. It feels off to me. I think Cassie should be used as Sharon's conscience, kind of the way that John is used to be Jack's conscience. It's weird that Cassie is telling her like, yeah, do it, yeah. But Sharon, in no uncertain terms, tells Cassie, nope, I'm done with this, and Cassie seems to accept it and just says, you know, I'll always be here when you need me, and then she disappears into the mist. Hallelujah! Okay, you guys, that does it for me for this week. Fingers are double, triple crossed that things on the show are going to get lighter sooner rather than later, although I just don't think so. Well, why don't you guys leave me your comments and let me know how you're feeling about this week's show. I always love hearing from you. It really hits home to hear voicemail. So if anybody wants to call in and leave me a voicemail, it's area code 309-588-4569. I don't know why, but just hearing voices seems to stick with me a little bit better. But I do absolutely read your YouTube comments, and any comments you leave on my blog at yrchat.com always get read. I do tend to respond to most of them if I have the time. I've just been kind of like, ugh, my NR right now. It's not bringing me a whole lot of joy, but you guys are, so please feel free to feedback. I love hearing from you. Okay, I think that's it. I love you. I'll see you next time. Bye.